Okay, Paradise Season 2, Episode 4, titled Holy Charter. This episode written by Stephen Markley and directed by Ken Olin. Annie treats Xavier's wounds and helps him get back to full health after his plane crash and the fight that resulted in him being stabbed before Annie found him. They talk about the importance of parenthood when Xavier sees that Annie is close to having a baby. Together, they agree that they will travel to Atlanta to find Terry first, and then they'll go back to the Colorado bunker. Annie, however, goes into premature labor, and despite telling Xavier not to trust people, he goes and finds help from neighbors who assist in delivering the baby. Annie writes her daughter a letter and makes Xavier promise he will give it to her before she dies from postpartum bleeding. In Colorado, Geiger and Link's group join a large convoy that finds the bunker, and they demand to speak to the people in charge. Inside the bunker 3 years earlier, President Bradford helps a woman who's about to give birth to the first baby born inside, and Sinatra promises the boy that he will see the real night sky someday. Interesting sort of departures, I guess. We have one little bit about Geiger and Link out in Colorado, some brief scenes of flashback with Bradford, with Sinatra, and this new baby. But I think the thing that just surprised me the most was what happened with this storyline with Annie, Shailene Woodley, who was billed to be, the new one of the new stars of this season. And
Yeah.
unless we see a flashback, she's gone.
Yeah. So this episode made me kind of mad. Um, and I don't know. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. I was entertained. But at a certain level, it didn't work for me. And it's related precisely to what you just mentioned. And, trying to think about why it bothered me. I mentioned to you I read this Marie Claire article. I don't know if you read it.
Hmm.
I sent it to you.
Hmm.
But I thought that did a good job of articulating what it was, like how basically I was talking a bit last week about this trope of the pregnant woman in the post-apocalyptic story kind of thing. And then this
Yep.
week they fridged her, basically, right? So um, it's more of an external kind of critique about representation or something, if we go in that direction, but sort of internal to the show, they made me care about this character pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I feel like I wanted her to stick around. So, I mean, and the only way that I can praise this, which I feel like is something of a criticism of the show, sort of diegetically, is when she died, I wasn't like sad or upset because this character I like died so much as I was mad at the show creators for killing her
Yeah.
off, if that makes sense. I don't know. Further thoughts on this?
Yeah. I thought in that first episode of the season, for whatever it was, 55 minutes, they did a tremendous job of telling us a lot about this character. We got to know her backstory. We got to know why she was there. We got to meet her with her coworker. We got to see how she survived. We got to see her interact with this other group. I mean, just so much they were able to do in such a short period of time, and connected a lot with the character. So yeah, I mean, like you said, it's not that I'm just distraught over the character dying, but I guess I just don't understand then the point. If all it was for someone to patch up some wounds and then leave Xavier with a baby to go through this dystopia with, I don't quite see what the purpose was there.
Right. I mean, now he's got to carry around a baby. Um, and what I'm about to say might sound like I'm complaining about the show, but I don't mean it that way because I know what kind of show I'm watching. Um, that throughout this whole time they're traveling, never any concerns raised about getting food or anything like that. Um, Nothing along those lines ever comes up. I actually kind of appreciated that by the end of the episode he'd made it to Atlanta. I was like, okay, well at least the show's not going to drag this out, which I'd almost been expecting, I guess,
Yeah.
something like Arya and the Hound traveling across Westeros all season.
Over two
And no,
seasons,
it was
yeah.
like, nope, just made it to Atlanta. Um, but there's something else. Oh, about the baby, right? Throughout the whole episode, they keep talking about how resilient babies are. Look, Ryan, I don't have kids. I know you have kids, so
Yeah.
maybe you're in a better position than I am here. But I'm not sure that babies are as resilient as they keep claiming in this episode. Thoughts on that?
Look, there is something to be said for Like this is every parent goes through this. Babies are resilient. Like you bump their head on the door, or you can't figure out how to make them stop cry. They're not being left
Yeah,
regularly in the rubble of earthquakes and surviving. This is
yeah,
an outlier case, right? This is so yes, there's something to be said for the fact that babies can stand a lot, but n no, being in an apocalypse, no food on horseback for who knows how long. I mean, this is not exactly what they should be talking about here.
that's what I was thinking. It's like I was under the impression that babies were mostly weak and powerless and fragile. I mean, where I get it to say to a new parent, no, like babies are more resilient than you think, or whatever,
Yeah,
right? Okay,
yeah,
but taking it to the level of baby can survive the apocalypse, no problem. You know
yeah.
what I mean? It's almost like maybe survive earthquakes. So they're, I don't know. And then I mentioned how there's,
That was not in the parenting classes. I'll tell you that much.
yeah, I mentioned how there's no concern raised about food for the adults. What about the baby? How's he feeding that baby?
Yeah. That
And
I think somebody
I don't know.
says to Xavier in that house, like, "Oh, I think some of this stuff we've got will work, or some of it might be okay." It's like, well, there's not a lot of options. You can either have something that a baby is able to consume or not. This is not like you
Right.
have options, a buffet for them.
Yeah. And so the baby's mother's died, right? Because she could have breastfed the baby. But now Xavier can't. So yeah, does he have a backpack full of formula or something? Or
And you need
anyway,
fresh water, yeah,
right. And look, I actually hope that the show just ignores all of this.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm not really trying to levy that as a criticism, but there is something where it just it didn't land with me well what they're doing. Um, I'm disappointed to see that Annie has died so quickly after being introduced as a character.
Hmm.
Um, Again, part of that critique is sort of an external critique about how women in particular are portrayed in some of these stories, and there are tropes
Yeah,
involved here, like mentioned fridging. It's like, okay, well you're killing off the female character for the character development of the male protagonist. And that's
right,
basically what's
right.
going on here, right?
That's
And oh,
exactly
now
right.
there's also a baby. Um, I don't know
And it's
what's up with the
almost
baby
like
thing.
it's almost like, and we're
Yeah.
literally halfway through the season already. There was three that
Uh-huh.
dropped, one this week, four more to go. We're halfway through. It almost like this was all just platforming what are going to be the two tensions the rest of the season. The people outside the bunker trying to get in or communicate with the people inside, and Collins trying to figure out from this guy he met at the post office what's happened to his wife, where did she go, who took her. So, that I would classify under sort of what we liked about the show in the first season. And every episode kind of peeled back the layer of the onion a little bit about the mystery and what was happening and all that. Seems like we're going to go those two directions. And so it's kind of not sure, why it needed half a season to set all that up.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, again, where I feel like it would have been more interesting to me. I would have felt more invested, I think, to just keep having Annie around as a character, and
Hmm.
then that thread to work with as well about her wanting to get to Colorado and join back up with Blink and all of that. And then there's narrative tension you could explore there,
Yeah,
because at this point, I mean, we both agreed the show did a really good job making us care about Annie pretty quickly. Did it do as good of a job in making us care about Link? I'm not sure. I
no,
mean, I'm not saying I don't care about him at all, but I don't feel as invested. And plus, he doesn't even know that he got her pregnant, right? So if Xavier
right.
shows up and is like, "Here's your baby," he's gonna be like, "What?" So we'll see how it goes. Sticking with us just a little bit further. Question you put on our show sheet about Xavier taking the baby as opposed to leaving him with the kind strangers. Yeah, because he promised. I mean, what do you
Yeah.
think? You know,
It could only be because he made a promise to Annie to take care of this child and to use it as part of this holy charge that they kept talking about and to use it as a mechanism to help him I mean, he trusts people. He sees the good of people, and so he's the best person to take care of this child. I mean, I get it thematically, but just practically, it's like, my gosh, there's a whole set of people here with a home that have access to water,
Yeah.
that have the food. Just leave the baby there and come back.
Yeah, I mean that's a possibility too. Leave the baby there and come back, or just leave the baby there. I mean, I'm sorry, but at one point, I think Xavier says something like, "Well, this is a promise I can't break, whatever." And I'm like, "No, this is exactly the kind of promise you can break, right? Because the person you made the promise to is dead.
Yeah,
But more importantly, the what should be the most important thing here is what's best for this baby, right?
exactly, exactly.
Is the best thing for the baby to take it on the road with me to Atlanta and who knows what? And I mean, maybe you could argue at the end of the day, the best thing is for it to have a life back in the bunker because he's planning to go back to
Yeah.
Colorado. But I mean, there's a lot that's got to happen before you get there. I mean, what's the mode of transportation? Just a horse? This is going to take a while.
Yeah,
A lot of road
exactly.
traveling through the apocalypse with a baby. You know, I think you can make the argument pretty strongly that it would be better for this child to have been left with those people. And
Yeah, yep.
but that's not what happens. I don't know. And for those listening, sorry if it feels like we're just complaining about this episode a lot. I don't really mean it that negatively. I enjoyed the episode, so let's try to. I'll try to take it in a more positive direction by saying
Yeah.
something about the structure. Where last week I might have questioned a little bit about the structure with the flashbacks of Xavier in the hospital meeting Terry and so on. Um, but I was thinking about it this week where I think you could argue, that the flashbacks of the woman giving birth to the first child in the bunker don't mean a lot narratively, but
Yeah.
I think that the way that they structure things going back and forth actually did help with the flow of the episode and how entertained I was by it. What about you?
Interesting, because I kind of sided on that first sentiment you had that it paralleled thematically, I guess, in terms of the birth and the birth. It was a sense of um, well, maybe Xavier can be the hope for this child, and Sinatra is using that child as sort of a beacon of hope of sorts for we're going to be out of here someday, within your lifetime. But other than just a chance to get Cal Bradford back, it sort of read to me as I'm not really sure what's necessary here.
Yeah, well, I would agree. I don't think it was necessary, but I enjoyed it. Like it worked for
Yeah,
me. If it didn't work for you, fair enough. But yeah, it's interesting because I had that precise thought occur to me that would be the criticism, right? Like, why do we need all of this? Yeah, I mean, is there any way in which that baby is going to be important to the story? Probably not, because at this point, that baby's what, 3 or something
yeah,
like this, like it's hard for me. It's possible in further seasons that there'll be a time jump or something, but it's kind of hard for me to see right now how these babies are going to be significant characters as
yeah.
opposed to, children, babies. Um, but I enjoyed it. I mean, like, as you say, right? It's like part of it was just the opportunity to get Cal in there somewhere, and I liked having
Yeah.
him on my screen. I guess that's all I'm saying when it comes down to it. Like, okay, I'm
I did
entertained. Fair.
I did I did have a thought. It seemed like in season one that Sinatra was interested in covering up the fact that it was habitable outside. They
Yeah.
found people, they killed them, killed the scientist. She then killed the people who killed the scientist. So since she's trying to keep that information for people, but now this with whatever this project is, this Jane project or whatever it is that she's working on, seems like she's working towards a scenario where they can go back out. And so was that conversation there, but that this what she says to this baby just meant to say, okay, no, her actual goal is to get people out of here. Seemed a little bit contradictory to what we saw, but we don't know anything about this project and what's about to happen. So maybe there's more to come.
Yeah, agreed though. If we got any new kind of information, it would be in that because presumably she's telling the truth. She's talking to a baby who can't even understand what she's saying. I don't know why she'd be lying, right?
Right, right.
Um, is that the plan to leave the bunker within the span of a lifetime? That does feel like new information. And I guess it has to relate to what they've introduced this season in terms of her project and Alex and whatever's
Yeah,
going
yeah,
on there, which I presume we'll find about more in the latter half of the
yes.
season. What they've already set up would be indicating that it has to be, I guess, some way of preventing that Venus scenario that the scientist was talking about earlier, right? Because
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
conversation, he precisely laid out what's happened so far, right? And like things will get better, and the survivors will think they're so lucky to have made it through, but oh, those idiots
right.
don't know what's coming next, right? So it's got to be that what's coming next that somehow our project is meant to prevent. Like
Yes.
something about quantum entanglement or something. I don't think we've
That's
gotten much information about the project.
yeah. We have next to nothing other than she wanted that information, wanted that company, and Link is going to somehow play a role. And now, obviously, coincidentally or not coincidentally, he has showed up at the front door of this place to get involved in that storyline somehow.
What do you think about him seeming to appear in Xavier's dreams or something like that?
Yeah, this is odd because I think it's Xavier that says, he sees the ID and he says, I've seen this person, or seen this person, and they're in the dreams, but we at this point don't have any sense that they have ever met before. So
Yeah.
unless, Xavier is some kind of clairvoyant that's thinking about what's going to happen in the future, I don't have any sense of their history together.
I feel like they're setting up something, and it probably is going to relate to the past. I don't think
Yeah.
that the show is going to get into Xavier as clairvoyant, supernatural
Yeah.
kind of territory. I saw someone on Blue Sky complaining about that ID, and I wonder if this factors in. What they were complaining about is that that ID does not have his name on it.
Hmm.
Like that's wrong, right? I mean, like any ID card. What's the point of the stupid ID card, right? It's got your picture and it's got your name, and then whatever other information might be relevant, it's college ID or
Right.
whatever. But like, if it's an ID card, it has your name. It doesn't have his name on it, right? His name's not Link. Link is his nickname, like they call the other guy Urkel,
All
right?
right.
But if somehow this show is hiding his name so that it can be a reveal later, I struggle to imagine what that could even be that would be relevant. Could it be like Cal's brother or something? I don't I couldn't
Yeah.
even really think of a connection that would land as like, oh wow.
That's a great point. I don't know. It's too old to be, Sinatra's kid. Yeah, it could be a, a brother or stepbrother from the same father for Cal. But yeah, who that is or what would make sense? I mean, I thought the big reveal was this guy, his former boss saying it's no exaggeration to say the fate of the world could be in this guy's hands or whatever. So that's sort of the big reveal. But who he is may be important as well.
Yeah, so I mean, all of this has to come together, I think, in some way, right? The
Yeah.
reveal that he was the protege of Patrick Fischler's character, name I think was Henry, right? The fate of the world might be in his hands, all of that kind of stuff. The reveal in the flashback that this is the same guy who Annie has met. How do we make sense of that? What I was just saying with the ID, which I hadn't really thought about, I hadn't even really noticed till I saw someone complaining about it and then now him appearing like in Xavier's dreams or visions or whatever. All
Yeah.
that's got to come together in some way. I would expect by the end of the season.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're setting up certainly that. Yeah, I do wonder is what Colin's mission he's about to go on will lead him back to the bunker so they can all be there together. And I hope that it does. And I imagine that won't be until next season. But yeah, something about Link's connection to all of this. Presumably, he will get to speak to people or get to be in that bunker, and we'll learn more about that.
Yeah, and I don't know if it'll be next season in terms of what you just said. It, this episode reminded me that this show has a way of moving fast.
Yeah, they did go
You
from
know,
Arkansas to Atlanta in 5 minutes.
right? Like again, I kind of been expecting this to play out over the course of the season, where it's Xavier and Annie traveling slowly with their horse or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, this is like boom, he's already in Atlanta. I don't know how long it would take to get from Graceland to Atlanta on horseback. Maybe could have looked that up. Of course, at first he's just walking and she's on the horse, right? So
Yeah.
we could look up on Google Maps, right? What's the walking estimate? And I'm sure it's days. But I guess they're pretty quick. So clearly they're setting up something to occur in Atlanta because Terry's missing or someone took her hostage or
Yeah.
what's going on there. We might want to talk about a little bit more, and that'll play out for a bit. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's back in Colorado by the season finale, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, I'm curious to see with that's halfway through, and now he's got to go elsewhere to find his wife and find out why she's gone, who
Yeah.
took her, who is this character that he meets. Our next episode is called The Mailman, so think there's be a focus there over the next hour that this show is on. So yeah, he's got a mystery to solve, but I could see him, like I said, they sort of yada yada hit him into Atlanta quickly, so we could get back to Colorado.
Yeah, we'll see. It's more just that they're kind of Indiana Jonesing the travel, as opposed to,
Yeah.
like, this isn't like the Game of Thrones thing I mentioned or the Road or something. The apocalypse, whatever. Just do. Now you're in Atlanta, okay. So, but we'll see. I mean, of course, they could draw it out as long as they want to. Um, Not really hardly anything to work with about speculating about
Yeah.
who's Harry or what's happened there. We'll just have to see, I suppose. And
Wonder, will it be relevant that this person who he met, uh, what he said was unusual? The closest person to me, the person that most resembles a sister in my life, that just because they've been through the apocalypse together for a few years, or is there something there of why they have gotten so close? I mean, again, we have next to nothing, so I'm sure that's what's coming next week.
yeah, we're gonna get another flashback episode. You know,
Oh, I'm sure. I'm
I, I,
sure. Yeah.
like fully. I don't know if I the it seemed to have caught on to call these departure episodes, right?
Hmm.
So like the first episode of this season. Are we going to get another one like that? Focus on what happened to Terry. Um, I suppose I trust the show to do it if that's what they're going to do. But I kind of hope things cut back and forth a little bit more because this week left us hanging when it
Yeah.
comes to what's going on in the bunker, right? Like Jane just killed the president and framed Robinson. Remember?
Yeah, that's right.
No
And
update on
we
that
didn't
this
go
week.
back to that at all. Yeah.
So hopefully next week we will. Like I want to follow up on the action in the bunker and whatever Jeremy's
Right.
doing and all of that, right? And maybe that's where, if you wanted to levy a criticism about doing the flashbacks with the first baby born in the bunker and how that probably doesn't matter narratively, they could have been using that time to like show us what's going on in the bunker now or something like that.
Yes.
But
Right. I completely forgot that there is an aftermath of a president dying to deal with.
yeah, it was like kind of a big deal, you know. It was kind of the inaugural thing in season one that someone killed the president, and you know. But I mean, of course, we don't care about this president as much. But I am very curious to see, does the frame job work? Is Robinson in trouble? What does that mean for Xavier's kids, who she's been looking
Right.
after? Who
Right.
becomes the president next? How does Sinatra reestablish her power? All of that kind of stuff is at play, and the closest we get to it in this episode is Link showing up and we're doing the cards outside with the camera or whatever. Which
Yeah.
I think you mentioned Love Actually, but it put me in mind of. Do you remember this old In Excess music video? You,
Oh.
I think the song "The Mediate" or something like that, and the guys. They're just like standing in some lot and they just keep throwing cards that have one word on them over and over again. I had
I
to
don't
look
remember
up
that
what it
one.
was. It it,
No,
it,
I mean
it pinged in my
obviously that's
memory.
been
I had
yeah,
to refresh
that whole
my
shtick has
memory on
been
that.
duplicated and repeated and copied over and over and over again since Love Actually. Yeah, I thought that was funny. Sorry to Love Actually you with this, but yeah, we need to speak to whoever's in charge.
Yeah. He doesn't know. So here's what another thing we know about Link. He doesn't know the names of like famous Elvis songs,
Yeah,
but he knows Love Actually.
he knows Love Actually. Yeah, he's probably Gen
Um,
Z. Yeah,
yeah, but I feel like you should at least know. Like I've never been an Elvis guy, but I
yeah,
feel like you should at least know, be familiar with the names of his
like
biggest
five
hits.
famous Elvis songs. Yeah,
Yeah, like how do you avoid that? I don't know. Then again, I recall talking to a youth at one point, like didn't know who Jimi Hendrix was. So, like, anyway,
oh boy.
the cranky old man addendum. Um, let's see, anything else we want to talk about on this episode before we wrap up?
I think that hits all the notes for me. Yeah, hard to believe. I guess is what happens when they do the drop, but hard to believe we're halfway done.
Yeah, week to week at this point, and we'll be back each week here on the podcast working through Paradise Season 2. So hopefully you've enjoyed our conversation and will continue to join us in the future. Please do leave good ratings, reviews, all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out tvobsessive.com. You find written work on any number of TV shows, past, present, future, and so on. If you want to follow us on social media, if you search for TV Obsessive, you should find us. And as for the podcast, we'll be back with you next week.
All right, looking forward to it. See you then.